Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Bookkeeping Legends. My name is Raymond,
And I'm Calvin.
and this channel is all about bookkeeping, accounting, and starting a virtual bookkeeping business. And in today's video, we have a really exciting topic, and that topic is why we think bookkeeping is the best virtual assistant business. And make sure you stay till the end of this video because Calvin is going to reveal some secrets in terms of how you can increase your charge out rate as a virtual assistant just by developing and learning that fundamental bookkeeping knowledge. So without further ado, let us begin this video, which I'm really excited to talk to Calvin about, and that is virtual assistants. So before we begin, let's define sort of what a regular office assistant might be in, let's say, a regular organization. Maybe they're not even doing accountant or anything like that, but they could be doing some office manager duties. They could be sending emails, maybe ordering food for the company, checking the stock, making sure the supplies are all in stock, the pens and the paper. So in a traditional work setting, Calvin, like tell us what a traditional office assistant would do. What are kind of like the duties of a regular office assistant?
Yeah, so most CEOs or the C-suite people like CFOs, they usually have a personal assistant who help them, for example, book their meetings and drive away people so that the CEO is not bothered too much. Yeah, book a lot of meetings, and then they also have to help them with miscellaneous tasks, maybe like help them with their paying the bills or and other tasks like that. So the CEO is usually more focused on the big stuff in terms of strategy, meeting with others, executives of the company, and then the personal assistant usually follows along and take notes and remind the CEO, you have 6 meetings today. The next one starts in 5 minutes. Hurry up! So they do that. Basically anything that their boss tells them to do.
That's amazing. So, if we were to kind of, take that traditional, work assistant in a traditional office setting, and we were to basically convert this person to be virtually, and a virtual assistant is basically someone that would help with all of the duties that Calvin had mentioned, plus additional duties, but they would do it from a virtual basis, which means they could work from home or work in a remote location. So this virtual assistant could be doing things like maybe you could book flights for different people. You could schedule travel arrangements. You could schedule restaurant reservations. You could send out flowers to someone when it's their birthday. So these are all kind of things that fall into what a virtual assistant might do. And typically virtual assistants can fall into basically any category, and any business could use a virtual assistant, right? Imagine even think about those large tech companies, or think even like those dog walking companies. Sometimes they need virtual assistants to help them prospect customers. So if you're good on the phone, you could do customer service, or you could do sales, right? These are all things that you could do from a 100% virtual remote basis. But we promise you guys that today we're going to talk about why we think bookkeeping is the best virtual assistant business. And I'm going to first of all ask you, Calvin. So a lot of people, maybe they're scared or they're uncomfortable about becoming a bookkeeper because they're scared about the difficulties of obtaining that fundamental accounting knowledge. So is this fear real, or is this something that a lot of people are kind of over, I would say, thinking that bookkeeping is a lot harder than it actually is? Because you've coached people with basically absolutely zero accounting knowledge, zero bookkeeping knowledge, and today they're working as accountants and as bookkeepers in industry. So I'd love to hear kind of your perspective on, would you be able to take these virtual assistants, like if you're someone that you're comfortable being a virtual assistant for a company, should you be scared of becoming a virtual bookkeeper?
I think a lot of people just grow up and learn to be scared. So think about when you were a kid, for example, you were basically fearless. You and I were fearless, right? You're not afraid of, trying to go from one chair to another without knowing there's like a big, there's a big hole in the middle. You could fall down and really hurt yourself. So as kids, people are not afraid of trying new things and being daring. But somewhere along the way, when we grow up to be adults, we learn to be fearful of a lot of things. Especially, we are fearful of change and the unknown. So, learning bookkeeping is just the same. For a lot of people, they may have chosen a career already. They may be an engineer. They may be already a personal assistant of some kind, and then they're just afraid of picking up a new skill because they're like, oh, who am I to learn? I'm already, past 20 years old, and that's very old in today's age, right? But which is completely not true because human beings are actually very, very adaptable. They're actually very able to learn things throughout their entire lives. And it's true, we pick up things a lot quicker when we're kids or when in our teens and maybe up to 25. But even past 25 is not a big issue learning anything, bookkeeping included. I'm a living example of that because I picked up, two working on my third language, and when I'm past 25, and it's that's not the issue is not the ability to learn, but the fear of not being able to succeed. And I think it's very important to realize that um, it's all about making a decision to learn. I've seen many people become bookkeepers and accountants, even CPAs, when they're like 38 or 40 years old. I've seen that with my own eyes. Yes, it's not going to be as easy. You'll have a lot more responsibility, a lot more things to deal with, but it is possible. I've seen people in their late 30s, 40s become a CPA, and that is a lot harder than becoming a bookkeeper. You can become a bookkeeper, with a month or two. You can learn most of your skills really, really quickly. Of course, if you want to be a very competent bookkeeper, it might take you a little while longer because you have to learn the technical aspect of how to do bookkeeping. But I think in today's world, continuous learning is basically the norm. And that goes for bookkeeping as well. And there are just so many online courses out there. It shows that there is a desire to learn. Everybody has a desire to learn. People have a desire to improve and upgrade. Actually, if you don't improve and upgrade yourself, you're falling behind the pack because there's always going to be new technology, new techniques, new concepts coming up. Like a few years ago, I would not even think about like QuickBooks Online. Like I like my QuickBooks desktop and I like just working on my computer. I don't like working in the cloud. Things like Google Drive and Dropbox, just 10 years ago, people would be freaking out. Like, I don't want to learn any of that. Like, why should we use things in the cloud? I like it like this way. But times have changed. Same with bookkeeping. You no longer need to hire somebody in-house to do all your bookkeeping. You can actually hire somebody from another country or another state or another city to do the books. And it's so true that most entrepreneurs or almost anybody, they have things that they like to do and things that they hate to do. Like Raymond said earlier, they might be good at selling their product, but they might hate doing the bookkeeping. Or for those of us who are good at bookkeeping, you might hate the marketing, right? And then so you outsource whatever you don't like doing. So easy nowadays, just go online and find yourself a VA, a virtual assistant. You'll find it in almost any shape and form, any price, from any country. And VAs now are such a value added because everybody could spend their time on something more valuable than doing something that you do not like. And bookkeeping is, trust me, something that most people don't like. And for those of you watching, congratulations, you are the few valuable people because you are in such high demand because most people hate bookkeeping. I'm just going to say that. People hate bookkeeping. It's not the most fun thing. But for those of us, Raymond and I, we've been through it bookkeeping. Okay. We're very meticulous people. We are very detail oriented. We can dot our I's and cross our T's. So becoming a virtual assistant is very valuable nowadays because people can focus more on whatever they like doing and they can offload that thing that they do not like, for example, bookkeeping to somebody else. And in terms of being a VA, for those of you that do not yet have bookkeeping skills, it's such a valuable skill because uh, honestly, for any company, what function is most essential that does not go away no matter what the economy looks like? If the economy tanks, marketing is probably the first thing going out the door, right? Like, I'm not going to do any more advertising because I don't have the budget, but you still need somebody to do the books, right? So no matter how bad the economy is, the bookkeeper is very important. And if you, as a virtual assistant, are able to offer that service, you're adding more value to whoever is hiring you, the entrepreneur or whoever is hiring. So that's why I think it's such a good skill set to have nowadays to add bookkeeping in addition to being a VA.
Yeah, it's basically, and I think you nailed it, Calvin. It's just like an extra tool that you could have in your tool belt and basically charge yourself at a much more profitable rate or get much higher fees. Because if you're comfortable, like let's say you're comfortable picking up the phone and doing customer service or doing sales, or maybe your skill set is you're very comfortable typing up documents or editing Word documents, editing PowerPoint presentations. Okay, so what's the rate for someone that has this skill set? It might be maybe it's $12 or $13 an hour. Maybe it's worth that amount to a business. Maybe it's worth a little bit more. But if you upgraded your skill set from just these more of the fundamental VA skill sets to increasing your knowledge and developing this virtual bookkeeping skill set, then you've basically increased your market value significantly. Like, would you say, Calvin, that you could almost like double your charge out rate as a virtual bookkeeper? Like, would you say like anywhere from like $25 an hour to like $60 an hour? Would you say you've seen that before in companies you've worked for, that companies are willing to pay that amount of dollars to bookkeepers?
Oh, absolutely. Bookkeeping is a profession because you are working with numbers and you're keeping the business, the finances in order. It's an essential service. That's why it's possible to charge rates much higher than if you're just doing the mail or opening the mail or just like booking a restaurant, because those things almost anybody can do. You can ask a 16-year-old, oh, can you call the restaurant and book me for four people at a certain time? No problem. 16-year-old can do that. But does the 16-year-old know how to do bookkeeping? Probably not, right? So that's why you can probably pay pay a VA just, like Raymond said, $12 or $13 for the basics, making a phone call or opening the mail. But when you have a professional skill like bookkeeping, it's so essential. Business owners know this. They know that, and they're really interested in their business finances. They need to know, how much money did I make this month? How much expense did I pay out this month? I mean, business owners want to know that, right? And stakeholders need to know that. That's why it's such a valuable skill. It's so integral to any business. Yeah. So I would definitely say you can easily double your charge out rate or maybe even triple it.
That's amazing. And one of the things that we promised we share a little bit of a secret as well. And I think this is the one thing that you should always be thinking about, is that by being a bookkeeper, you're developing a relationship with a company or an individual to do your books on perhaps a monthly basis, which is the most common theme. So it's not a transaction, it's a relationship. And in relationships, there's typically ongoing business, right? So I want you to think a little bit about, maybe people can relate to this little story. It's like, when I was growing up, my mother would always take me to a particular hairdresser, and it was just like every month I would go to this hairdresser, from the age of 6, and then 8. When I was 8 years old, I would go to them, and then 12, and then 14 and 18, and I just keep going back to this hairdresser. And I wasn't even, why is this really the best hairdresser in the world for me, right? But it's just that familiarity and the competence level, right? Because a lot of these entrepreneurs, they're looking for someone that is that is competent, that can get the job done, right? But bookkeeping is not something where it's like, you don't need to be the LeBron James of bookkeeping or the Michael Jordan of bookkeeping, right? Those things don't exist. You need to be accurate and you need to be competent to basically get the job done. But And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that by building those relationships early, that familiarity and that trust, right? Because you have to be competent. At the end of the day, you can't deliver bad results, okay? But getting to that level of competence is also not extremely difficult. Calvin, would you say?
Absolutely. Like I said before, you can probably pick up the skills in a month or two. And if you want to be better, then yes, you have to invest a little bit more time and effort into it. But bookkeeping is not very difficult to pick up to start. Also depends on how comfortable you are with software. But in terms of bookkeeping, I would say 80% of the time, the transactions are more or less the same. You need to record your revenues and your expenses. Yes, there might be the occasional tax refund, or you have to issue a dividend to a shareholder or something weird like that. But most of the time, it's not overly difficult to learn bookkeeping. The barrier to entry is actually very low. Anybody can actually pick up the skills relatively quickly. And because it's a repetitive thing, the more you repeat how to do something, the more quickly you learn it. And bookkeeping, you do a lot of the same thing over again. So you get to pick it up really, really quickly. So the learning curve is not too high. And then if you have any questions, obviously you can always feel free to ask, your instructor who taught you bookkeeping, or you can always reach out to an accountant friend. And so you know where to find resources as well.
That's amazing, Calvin. And before we end off this video, and I apologize to our viewers because my screen is getting darker because I think the light is going off. But Calvin, what are those final tips that you have for virtual assistants that are looking to make that transition into bookkeeping? What are those key steps that you would recommend for them in order for them to kind of get started?
Right. So I think first of all, you have to make that decision. Okay, yes, I'm going to go for it. And then also, recently I've been listening to an audiobook called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. This is not a sponsored video, but I just thought it's really great. So basically, what she says is our brains will talk us out of making a decision if we don't make a decision within 5 seconds. So her premise is, if you have to make a decision, count down from 5 down to 0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go do it. So I think the most important thing, first of all, is to make a decision. Yes, I'm going to do this. And you might have fears and of the unknown. You might not know what's going to happen coming up next. You might think, oh, I'm going to fail. This is not going to work. But hey, you've done a lot of things before you thought you never could have done. As a kid, did you think you could walk? Do you think you can run? Probably not, right? So, but we just learn step by step. You take one step at a time. Don't worry about the end result. If you think you want to become a virtual assistant, first of all, go on the internet and find out what that is and how to get into it. And then after that, create an account on whatever platform you want. If you want to become a bookkeeper, start researching on whatever course you think will suit you the best, an online course or a brick and mortar course. Make a decision and then just go for it. And then you'll be surprised at how amazing you are and how much things you can learn and what you are capable of. You might think you're not capable, but let me tell you, you are capable. I never thought I could learn like 2 or 3 more languages, past 25, but here I am. I can speak so many more languages now. It's all a matter of making that decision. Yes, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try it one step at a time. And don't worry if you make mistakes along the way. That's completely normal. As kids, we always fall over when we try to walk, but go for it. That's my advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Calvin, for that heartfelt advice. And if you guys are interested in Calvin's bookkeeping course, you can check it out in the description below. And until then, we are going to wrap up this video, and we really look forward to seeing you guys in that next video. So until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. See you next time.